Hello there, adventurers, and welcome to Wally DM. Today I'd like to take a look at a handful of the most bizarre and the creepiest monsters in the 2018 5th edition supplement, Monsters of the Guild. Now this tome has over 100 monsters in it, created by over 40 different authors of the DM's Guild. Now before we continue with the monsters, I'd like to highlight today two things. Number one, I'm going to be doing a giveaway for a $15 gift certificate to the DM's Guild, so you can purchase the PDF of this book. And there'll be a few more details about that here in a little bit. But what I really like about Monsters of the Guild is each monster in this bestiary has a 5th edition stat block and everything that you need to run it in your game. And in addition to that, the artwork in the book is very reminiscent of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It's black and white, has a antique look to it, and leaves a lot for the imagination. But perhaps my favorite part about it is the appendixes in the back. So Appendix A has all these monsters in this tome listed by challenge rating, so very helpful if you use the challenge rating system. Appendix B, which is probably my favorite part of the book, lists all the monsters as in accordance to where they can be found. So if you're in a desert environment, you can flip to Appendix B, find some monsters to plug into your desert campaign, grassland, forest, hills, underdark, you name it. And then finally, Appendix C is monsters by type. So if you're looking for some new fey creatures or a celestial or maybe some new undead to throw at your players, you can find that in Appendix C. So Appendix A, B, and C, by far my favorite parts of Monsters of the Guild. Well, probably right next to the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons feel type of artwork. So with that, let's take a look at my favorite picks for the creepiest and most bizarre monsters in Monsters of the Guild. First up on the list is the Empty Sack. Okay, so this is really weird. This is a body snatcher. An empty sack is just that. It's an empty sack. And it uses its grapple technique to envelop a medium or smaller sized creature. Now, after about 2 weeks of being trapped inside, the empty sack finally drains all of the memories and all the secrets and the identity of their victim. And the empty sack then becomes a leathery skin that forms to the body, and they fully assume the victim's identity. Now, the whole reason that the empty sack assumes the identity of their victims is to start to work their way up to more important people and eventually leading themselves up to toppling kingdoms or assuming a role in government. And since they are neutral evil, there's all kinds of havoc that they can wreak once they get a position of power. Next up on the most bizarre and creepiest monsters in Monsters of the Guild are the Nether Children. This small fiend is chaotic evil, and they use their childlike appearance to fool unsuspecting creatures and adventurers into an ambush. So adventurers may come across a bunch of kids playing and laughing, or maybe a single child that's crying, or something like that. Now they look like human children with the exception of big black eyes and a smile filled with needle-like teeth. So Nether Children are a very small challenge rating of 1. So a creature that can maybe trick our adventuring party into helping them out once they get close is too late, and maybe all these little creepy ass kids come from every direction and swarm the party or something like that. Now there's also a second variation, a Forsaken Nether Child, which is a little bit stronger than a normal Nether Child, and it has this special ability called a wail. So they just throw out this blood-curdling scream and cause thunder damage. So it'd be kind of cool to have in a dungeon environment or in maybe some ghost town where the only thing remaining are these fiendish Nether Children, and the adventurers come upon this and they turn around, they've got these fangs and stuff, and they're led by one Forsaken Nether Child, and just sounds like a fun, creepy encounter to throw at our players. Now, I'm a big fan of oozes, and Monsters of the Guild did not disappoint as they brought along 4 new ooze monsters that we can use against our players. Now, the strangest and grossest one of these is called a vomit spawn. And it's actually tied to the, I hope I'm saying this wrong, the habilis ooze. So this habilis ooze is ingested by a NPC or a PC, and they have this deadly reaction. And when they have this reaction, they vomit up this spawn or this ooze-like fluid from their body, and it becomes a vomit spawn. So your players could be walking down the hallway and there could be a pile of vomit, look like somebody threw up on the floor, and then all of a sudden this thing comes alive and reaches out with its acidic pseudopods and attacks the players. So the vomit spawn by far is one of the grossest monsters that you're going to find in Monsters of the Guild. Now, if you'd like to guard a door or a secret chest, why not surround it with a bunch of porcelain dolls? And if a player or NPC touches the wrong thing, this entire room of porcelain dolls comes to life and attacks everyone in range. Yep, you've got it. In the Monsters of the Guild, we have a porcelain doll swarm. And this thing is tough. It's got 75 hit points. I mean, it's a challenge 3 rating, but I think it's a little bit tougher than that because it has a multi-attack, 4 melee attacks. So 2 with a bite and 2 with claws. And these things, they fight to the death. So they're just sitting in this room. There's probably about 10 of them in a swarm. And as soon as the players or NPCs do something wrong, the swarm of porcelain dolls come to life and attack. Alright, it's time to get bizarre on you. We've got the Potato Sack Man. Now the Potato Sack Man is kind of like a boogeyman as far as legend goes and things of that nature. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. There's a lot to this guy, and I would very highly encourage you to get this book or this PDF to check it out. But this dude is weird. And in addition to this boogeyman, Potato Sack Man that you can use in your games, there's also the Wee Wicked Potato Man. And that is potatoes that are grown in the garden of a Potato Sack Man. And they come to life as tiny plants, and they serve the Potato Man or the boogeyman as spies, hinch potatoes, or agents of terror. So it doesn't get any more bizarre than that, putting a Potato Man and his Wee Wicked Potato Man henchman into your game. Alright folks, it's time to talk about what nightmares are made of. And this next one is going to give me nightmares. This one is going to creep you out. It's going to creep your players out if they come across one of these. And wow. Okay, so this one's called the Pulper. Now, a pulper looks like a small, fat child wearing a red hat. And in fact, they try to sneak about the premises, maybe like a hotel or a mansion or something like that. They try to sneak about without being detected. But if they are detected, then they will act like they are a small lost child. And what the pulper does is it preys upon sleeping humanoids. Now, the pulper is extremely heavy, and the way that they feed is they climb on top of the sleeping humanoid, and they bite them and suck their blood, vampire style. But they're the pulper is so heavy that they cannot lay on top of a sleeping humanoid without crushing it. So before they climb up on top of the bed or whatever the victim is laying on, they open their guts and they spill their intestines on the floor. And then they climb up on top of the humanoid with their big halfling-like paw, and they put it over the victim's mouth and nose and stuff. And the hand is so heavy that it keeps the victim from being able to scream for help. Now, of course, the victim goes unconscious right away just from all the suffocation and the pain, but sometimes a pulper will leave them alive and try to come back the next night to get some more. And when they're all done feeding off of their victim. They go back down off of the bed. They put their intestines back together, and they leave a small gold coin underneath the victim's pillow, and then they sneak off into the night. Can you imagine your players' faces when they go in? Maybe they're sneaking around a hotel or a mansion and they're checking on somebody, and they walk in and there's this short, fat humanoid that's got his hand over a person, and its intestines are laying on the floor while they're draining him of blood. This, my friends, is a creepy-ass monster in the most disturbing way. Remember that porcelain doll swarm we were talking about earlier? Well, how about we pair that up with the evil doll? And this thing here is, oh my goodness. I mean, creepy toys. What's going on, you know? We've got this evil doll with a challenge rating of about a 4, but it's got 119 hit points. It has an ability called Frightening Lullaby that can paralyze its victims. It can blend into the shadows. It has a multi-attack with claws and a knife, and it's got immunities to being charmed, exhaustion, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned, unconscious. It's resistant to piercing and slashing from non-magical weapons. The only thing this thing's vulnerable to is fire. I mean, my goodness. And worst of all, if it's motionless, indistinguishable from any other inanimate children's toy. So now we've got the evil doll to go along with the porcelain doll swarm and creepy stuff here in the Monsters of the Guild. Unbelievable. Alright, moving on. This next one is a floating wolf head known as the Floater. And check out the artwork on this thing. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. So this thing here is an animal that was decapitated, and its head was brought back to life as an undead. It has an ability called Horrifying Visage that non-undead creatures seeing this within 30 feet can be frightened. It can produce this blood-curdling howl that will cause psychic damage, and heck, they're even semi-intelligent. So just a really gruesome looking undead that you can put in your game. So I'm at the end of the book, but here's just a couple more honorable mentions. You have the Hood, which is a floating cloak or a floating hood. All right, that's interesting, a little bit bizarre. You've also got the Were Spider. Honestly, I'm surprised we haven't had a Were Spider before. It seems like the next to be in the chain of lycanthropy, you know what? But the picture in this thing is in hybrid form. The Were Spider is creepy. Holy cow. I mean, you know, as compared to other were creatures, this thing's disgusting looking. I think of all the lycanthropy, I would not want to be a were spider, but just another bizarre creature. And I could go on and on. There's a new hag in this book. There's a new version of Scarecrow. There's new kobold versions. There's floating shadow clouds with tentacles coming out of the bottom. You name it. There are some bizarre and creepy monsters in here. And those were just a few that I highlighted. And again, I highly recommend that if you don't pick up the book, at least get the PDF. Awesome book, and I can't wait to use a ton of these monsters in some of my games. Okay, so the few monsters that I highlighted today, we could put in just one big side quest, mini one-shot adventure. Some kind of creepy land where it's nothing but children and toys. And you've got your porcelain doll swarm, you've got your evil doll, you've got the nether children, you've got that pulper monster creature with the intestines hanging out. So the ones that I highlighted today are monsters that I'm kind of considering and building a future one-shot around. So I thought that was really cool how we could bring them all together in one of the creepy-ass stories that your players could ever go through. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. What did you think of this review? Do you want to see future reviews similar to this? And I say review loosely because I don't like to do flip throughs. I just like to either use the book or point out a few of the things that I would use in my games. And I hope I accomplished that here with you today. And if you own Monsters of the Guild already, it would be really cool if in the comment section below you would tell me what your favorite monster is, or tell me what you think is the creepiest or most bizarre monster to come out of this book. Alright, so let's do a giveaway. Now I'd like to do more physical items in the future, books and things of that nature, but mailing them overseas and stuff can be expensive. If I get a larger subscriber count in the future, who knows, maybe we'll start doing that. So what I'd like to do is pretty much give away a PDF version of this. This costs $15 in PDF form on the DM's Guild. And what I will do today is we will do a giveaway, and I am going to buy a $15 gift certificate to the DM's Guild, and you can use that to buy Monsters of the Guild. But if you already own that PDF, then you can use that $15 to spend it on something else at the DM's Guild. And I believe that the way I can do that is I'll go ahead and buy the gift certificate, and once we have a winner, then I will email them the gift certificate. So in order to enter into your chance for the $15 gift certificate to buy Monsters of the Guild or whatever you would like from the DM's Guild website, what you need to do is tell me the most bizarre or the creepiest monster that you've ever used in a game or are planning to use in your game. Preferably out of Monsters of the Guild, but hey, if you haven't read this yet, maybe in some other 5th edition supplement, Pathfinder, third party, AD&D, whatever it is, just tell me what your creepiest or most bizarre monster that you've ever seen in a game. So that's all I have for you today. Don't forget, if you are a subscriber, to hit the bell icon so you can be notified when I publish a new video. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that little red subscribe button and join our channel for some more cool content like this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share with your friends. And as always, on to the next. Man.